Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a really provocative piece from Friedrich Nietzsche's Thus Spake Zarathustra called The New Idol.
That title alone sounds intense. I'm guessing this new idol isn't something to be admired, given it's Nietzsche we're talking about.
You're absolutely right. For Nietzsche, this new idol is the modern state, which he describes as the coldest of all cold monsters.
Wow, the coldest of all cold monsters. He certainly didn't mince words. What makes him see the state in such a negative, almost horrifying light?
It all starts with what he calls its fundamental lie. The state whispers this lie from its mouth. I, the state, am the people.
But isn't that the whole idea of a nation-state? That it represents its people? Why does Nietzsche see that as a dangerous falsehood?
Because for him, a people is something organic and authentic. He says creators were the ones who established peoples by creating a shared culture, a shared faith, and love.
So a people is a community bound by genuine shared values, something that grows naturally from the ground up, not imposed from the top down.
Exactly. In contrast, he says the state is the work of destroyers. They lay traps for the masses and call it a state, hanging a sword and 100 desires over them.
That's a powerful distinction. So a people is about shared culture and life, while the state is about control, force, and manipulation.
Precisely. He argues that where a genuine people still exists, they don't understand the state. They instinctively hate it as an evil eye against their customs.
That makes sense. If you have your own strong set of community rules and values, this external, imposing structure would feel like a threat to your way of life.
And it gets worse. Nietzsche claims the state lies in every language of good and evil. Whatever it says is a lie, and whatever it possesses, it has stolen.
What does he mean that it has stolen everything? Does he mean resources or something deeper, like morality itself?
It's definitely something deeper. He says it bites with stolen teeth. It doesn't create its own values. It co-opts and redefines them for its own purposes of control.
So it takes pre-existing concepts like justice or freedom and twists their meanings to serve its own agenda, making everything false.
Yes, and this confusion of good and evil is a sign of the state. He calls it a sign that points towards a will to death, not a will to life.
A will to death sounds incredibly bleak. Who does he think this system is actually for, if it's so destructive to genuine human culture?
He has a very specific answer for that. He says the state was devised for the superfluous ones, the many too many who are born into the world without purpose.
The superfluous ones. That's a harsh term. Is he talking about the masses, the general population that isn't made up of great artists or thinkers?
That's a good way to put it. He sees the state as a machine that entices these masses, swallows them, and gives them a prepackaged identity and purpose.
So the state provides a structure for people who might otherwise feel lost, but in doing so, it consumes their individuality completely.
And it presents itself as the ultimate authority. The monster roars. On earth, there is nothing greater than I. It is I who am the regulating finger of God.
So it's not just a political entity. It's demanding a kind of religious devotion. It's positioning itself as a new god, a new idol.
That's the core of the critique. It even fools great souls and the rich hearts who want to give themselves to a higher cause.
I can see how that would happen. People with a strong desire to serve a greater good could easily be tricked into serving the state, believing it's a noble cause.
He even calls out the conquerors of the old god. He suggests that those who have abandoned traditional religion become weary and then fall for this new idol instead.
That's a fascinating psychological point. The need for something to believe in doesn't just disappear, so it gets redirected towards the state.
And the state loves this. It gladly sets up heroes and honorable people around itself, basking in the sunshine of their good consciences.
It uses their virtue as a kind of public relations. By getting good people on its side, the cold monster can appear warm and benevolent.
It's a transaction. Nietzsche says the state will give you everything if you worship it. That's how it buys the luster of your virtue and the glance of your proud eyes.
So it offers security, recognition, and a sense of importance in exchange for your authentic self and your independent judgment.
He calls it a hellish artifice, a trick designed to look like divine honor. It's a kind of death that glorifies itself as life.
This sounds like what he calls a hearty service unto all preachers of death. The state promotes a kind of living death, a loss of self.
He defines the state as the place where everyone, the good and the bad, are poison drinkers, where everyone loses themselves.
And this slow collective loss of self, this slow degradation, is what the state rebrands and calls life. A slow suicide masquerading as living.
He then turns his attention back to these superfluous ones who thrive in the state. He says they steal the works of inventors and the treasures of the wise.
They don't create anything themselves. They just take what others have made and call it their own culture, but it only makes them sick.
Yes, he says they are always sick. They vomit their bile and call it a newspaper. It's a very vivid image for a toxic, reactive media culture.
That line about the newspaper feels incredibly modern. It sounds like he's describing the endless cycle of outrage and negativity we see online today.
It really does. He continues by describing their ambitions. They chase wealth and become poorer in spirit. They seek power, but are ultimately impotent.
This sounds like a mad scramble for status. He calls them nimble apes climbing over each other to get to the throne.
And he says it's a complete madness because they think happiness sits on the throne, but often it's just filth sitting there.
The pursuit of power for its own sake is empty and often corrupting. The goal they're fighting for is itself worthless or disgusting.
Ultimately, he finds the smell of these idolaters and their cold monster idol to be sickening. He urges his brethren to escape this bad odor.
So what is his proposed solution? What should people do if they feel suffocated by the fumes of the state and its appetites?
His advice is simple and direct. Better break the windows and jump into the open air. He wants people to withdraw from this idolatry.
To step away from the noise, the corruption, and the steam of these human sacrifices. The sacrifice of individuality to the collective state.
He says the earth still remains open for great souls. There are still empty places for those who want to live a solitary or authentic life.
So there is hope, but it exists outside the dominant structure. It requires a conscious act of stepping away and finding a different way to live.
Yes, and he praises a life of moderate poverty, saying, "He who possesses little is so much the less possessed." Freedom comes from not being owned by your desires.
That's a powerful reversal of modern values, which often equates possessions and wealth with freedom. For Nietzsche, they are a form of bondage.
The climax of his argument is this: there, where the state ceaseth, there only commenceth the man who is not superfluous.
So true individuality and meaning can only begin to exist in the space where the state's influence ends. That's a radical idea.
And it is. And it is in that very space, beyond the state, that he asks us to look for the rainbow and the bridges of the Superman.